Hi, it's Randy Herman, Associate Broker with Keller Williams Realty, bringing you Everything Real Estate, the show that answers all your questions about how to buy, sell, invest, and lease in real property. So today we're going to talk about becoming a realtor, a popular profession nowadays. And who better to talk to than my guest, Lynn Cohn, who, just for full disclosure, is my manager as well, my team leader, it's called, in Keller Williams. Thank you so much for coming in.
Thank you, Randy, for a great opportunity to talk about our profession. I appreciate it.
Yeah, and a great profession it is.
It certainly is.
Right. So, Lynn, why don't you start by telling us how you came to be in this position as an overseer, really, of hundreds of agents within Keller Williams?
Well, it was a process. I started in the industry about 20 years ago, moved here from Chicago not knowing a soul, sold a company that I had run for many years, and had the unique opportunity to start over, to reinvent myself in my 40s. And I was a realtor with one of the other large franchise companies for several years, and was given an opportunity to see how I did on the leadership side of the aisle for, again, another competitor about 15 years ago. Right. And found that it was my natural calling, that I get a lot of joy out of mentoring, teaching, and supporting agents as they learn the business.
Well, that's one nice thing about this profession, that there's so many aspects of it, so many different avenues that you can go with.
Exactly.
Right. And you want to give us a very short synopsis of the history of Keller Williams?
Well, in its current form, Keller Williams is about 30 years old. Started by two guys, Gary Keller, who was in his 30s at the time, and a mentor of his, Joe Williams. Joe has since retired. Gary bought him out. And over these 30 years grew from a single office in Austin, Texas, to over 700 offices in North America and 800 and some offices worldwide.
Wow.
And about 175,000 agents. We are, in fact, the largest company in North America.
Wow, that's very impressive.
Very exciting to be a part of that team.
Yeah. So you, in your capacity, what exactly do you do?
Well, my husband says that I run the office like a grandmother, and perhaps there's an analogy there. My grandmother was sharp, she loved us dearly, and she was tough. She didn't take any guff.
I was going to say, you'd be quite a grandmother.
Well, I am a grandmother,
right.
And I do believe that there are parallels, because the key to doing my job well is getting into real relationship with each one of my agents, knowing you, what makes you tick, what your goals are, and how I can best help you, mentor you, coach you to success.
Right. But a big part of your job is recruiting, correct?
That is correct.
Right.
My job is to grow the office. The Keller Williams model is such that we grow large regional offices because we take a limited amount of commission money from any one of our agents.
Right. And so you don't act as an agent now yourself?
I do not. I don't think that it's inspiring to an agent to think that I would compete with them.
Right. But another big function that you have is that you help to inform, answer questions, solve disputes. We were just talking about an issue that I have right now over a rental.
Right.
So,
well, part of my job is to be very, very well informed on the latest best practices and, frankly, on the law, both national and at the state level, so that I can keep you and your license safe and out of trouble.
Right. That's great, because we need a strong grandmother behind us.
Thank you.
Right. So the question is, really, I put down here, what is a realtor? But as we were talking about this before, you were pointing out, I should have put really, what is an agent? A real estate
Right, and there
agent.
is a distinction.
And what is that distinction?
Anyone who takes the required 40 hours of classroom instruction and passes a test, actually a two-part test, a part that asks about state best practice in law and a part that asks about national best practice in law, anybody who follows that procedure can become a real estate agent. Right. There is a second decision to become a realtor, and that happens when you agree to become a member of our local board of realtors, and therefore also a member of the Massachusetts Association of Realtors and the National Association of Realtors. I believe that's an important distinction, because we get our code of ethics from the National Association, and that's certainly one of our guiding principles in terms of how we carry on business.
Right, and nowadays they're requiring us every 2 years to take a course on code of ethics.
On ethics.
Yeah, just so
That's
we
exactly
don't
right.
forget.
So we don't forget.
Right.
That's exactly right.
Right. So maybe you could talk about what a realtor actually does.
Interesting question, and actually one I hear a lot from potential clients. What do you guys do for all that money we pay you? And the truth is, we are the caretakers of perhaps your largest individual investment. So we're responsible for knowing and understanding the market, its current conditions, taking extremely good care, offering you a fiduciary responsibility.
Right. So this, fiduciaries are far and few in between because really it's a much higher standard of care, isn't it?
Exactly.
Right.
And in Massachusetts, where individual brokerages hold escrow accounts, the responsibility is quite real. So we are responsible to clients to give them obedience, loyalty, to watch the timeline and guide them through the process of a sale, much of which is stressful to our clients, very, very much so.
Right. And there's two kinds of licenses, correct? I mean, there's a salesperson's license and there's a broker's license.
Exactly.
And what's the distinction
Well,
there?
in Massachusetts, we're required to have an apprenticeship of at least 3 years as a sales agent, during which time your license must be, you must hang your license with an existing broker. And then and only then could you apply for, take another exam, and become a broker in and of your own right.
So it's really the broker who has the responsibility
Exactly.
for the agents under them.
That is exactly right.
Right. That's a big responsibility.
Sometimes it's scary.
Right. So there's a friend of mine actually came up with about 125 different duties,
Right.
chores that realtors have to do in these
Sure.
60-hour weeks that
Sure.
we put in. And it's funny because when you go through all of these duties, they're not necessarily, they're all important, but they're not necessarily the main activities that a realtor does.
Well, I like to think about it as a 500-piece jigsaw puzzle. And the puzzle isn't complete unless, isn't it awful to get to the end of the puzzle and find one piece missing?
Oh my gosh.
And that could be the difference between a successful and easy transaction
Right.
and one that causes everybody additional stress and problems.
Right.
So each little piece, from taking great pictures to working with a client to prepare their home for market,
Right.
to monitoring and helping the fire department get in and get a smoke certificate, all of these small moving parts are our job, and it's designed to take all the stress off of our clients.
Right. It's interesting, though, when a realtor goes to put in his time and goes to actually create business,
Yes.
there's really 5 basic activities involved in that, right?
I would agree.
So the activities being prospecting and marketing, a lead follow-up. We get drilled these things
We've
constantly.
trained you well, haven't we?
Yes.
Well, I think that most people don't understand when they get into the business that I like to say that there are 2 halves to the business. The first half is the activity that you need to do in order to get business for yourself.
Right.
And then and only then do you get to practice real estate. They go hand in hand, and that prospecting, that lead generation activity actually serves your existing clients, because you can honestly tell a prospective seller that you are talking to people every single day and actively looking for a buyer for his home.
Well, certainly in this environment, that's what we're doing. We're out there. I'm out 2 hours a day door knocking
Exactly.
because I can't find the inventory on the
In our
multiple
current
listings.
situation, most of your prospecting is to find property
Yeah.
for buyers who are ready, willing, and sometimes desperate
Yeah.
to find a home.
And the ratio is way out of whack.
We're out of whack.
Yeah, absolutely. So to actually become a realtor, what's required?
Well, 40 hours of classroom time and then passing of a test. It's as simple as that. And in my opinion, the test is really to weed out inherently unqualified, unintelligent people.
Right. But the test really doesn't tell you how to become, or the course doesn't tell you how to become a realtor. It's more for rules and regulations and the
Exactly.
terminology.
I believe the classroom time does a good job of teaching you your fiduciary obligation.
Right.
It doesn't tell you what you're going to do every day. And I believe it's really important whether you come to work for us at Keller Williams, and I'd love it if you did, but regardless of where you choose to work, you want to pick a place that's going to give you real hardcore training
Right.
so that you know what to do when you wake up in the morning.
Well, it's certainly the reason I joined Keller
Mm-hmm.
Williams. I was with a company that will remain unmentioned, but I found that my first deal out, I almost got sued.
Yes.
Because I just was not properly.
I had a similar experience.
Instruction.
My very first transaction, I got to the closing table without a smoke certificate, which is required. I know that now, but I sure didn't know that then.
Right.
If only someone had told me.
Right. And the nice thing that I find about Keller Williams in particular, because I don't know all of the other companies, but is that it gives you step-by-step process of
Exactly.
what to do.
I like to say that our training takes a holistic approach to training a real estate agent.
What do you mean by that?
Well, we train the whole agent, not just on real estate practice, but on best business practice, on mindset management. Ours is a tough business sometimes.
Oh my
And
gosh, yes.
there are highs and there are lows.
Yeah.
And if we can teach you to manage those lows so that you can stay focused on your task at hand, it's a big help. We even have a course on neuro-linguistic programming, teaching you how to change the tone of your voice, the speed with which you talk, and the emphasis on certain words in order to gain the gravitas you might need during a negotiation.
Well, as you can see, that's a course I should be taking.
I think you're doing well.
So once you pass the test, then you place your license with a brokerage. right?
Exactly.
Okay. And then you join these organizations?
Well, in many of the larger offices like ours, we require that you become a realtor. We think there's great benefit in becoming a part of the board. They give us great training. As I said, they give us our code of ethics. And that, by the way, gives us arbitration and mediation, not litigation if ever there are disputes.
Right.
That's important.
Very important. Very important, since I might be in that
We
situation
might be
very
there,
soon. Yeah,
exactly.
absolutely. And then there's a continuing education factor in this.
Exactly. Every agent is required every 2 years to complete 12 hours of continuing education coursework.
Okay. And just make sure I'm on the right slide there. How much do realtors make?
That's a loaded question. When I sit across the table from someone asking what it would take to get into real estate, one of the first questions I ask them is, can you sustain yourself without making a penny for 90 days? Because I don't want to stay up nights worrying about whether there's food on your table.
Right.
So there's
there's
a ramp-up period.
gonna say.
There's a learning period. And by the way, if you sold a house the very first day you joined my office, you would still wait approximately 45 days to get paid, right?
Absolutely.
Because payday comes with a closing.
Right. But who pays the commissions, actually?
It is part of the proceeds of a sale, usually authorized by the seller.
All right. So it's coming out of the seller's
It's coming out of the
portion.
seller's proceeds.
I see.
That's
Okay.
correct.
Yep. And most brokerages have caps, correct? And
Most brokerages don't have caps.
Okay.
It's one of the ways in which we're unusual. And by a cap, I mean that we set a limit on how much money we will choose to earn based on the production of any one agent.
So in other words, the commission, let's say I'm going to pick a number out of the air, $20,000.
Mm-hmm.
Out of that $20,000, the brokerage gets a certain portion and Keller Williams gets a certain portion, but there are caps on those.
There's a limit. So that once you've met that limit, frankly, our agents work many months at 100%.
So after that,
They
you
get
get
it all.
100% commission.
Exactly. And that's one of the things that I found most attractive. Having been in traditional models for years, I was attracted on the leadership side to Keller Williams because I could offer my agents so much more money.
Right. So let me reverse the coin here
Mm-hmm.
and say, what are the costs for becoming?
Well,
and
you're
being
essentially
involved?
going into business for yourself. You're an independent contractor
Right.
making use of the tools and systems of an established brokerage. And so you may want to set aside a budget to market yourself. you will have dues and fees to the board to join the multiple listing service, which is our information database. You'll want, in some capacity, to pay for errors and omissions insurance.
Oh, absolutely.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Each office handles that differently.
Right.
I usually tell a prospective agent to budget approximately $1,500 a year as a minimum for out-of-pocket cost.
1,500. Yep, that seems to me even low.
Low, and any overage above that would be for personal marketing.
Right, I see. Okay. And I know I shouldn't ask this, but
Ask away.
can you give us a range of what, for example, people are making in our office?
I would say that if you eliminate the people in the business less than 3 months,
Right.
Entry-level income could easily be $50,000 in your first year.
Right, which
And-
is higher.
Which is higher than the average entry-level position.
Yeah.
And right now, my top performer in the office cleared almost $800,000 last year.
Oh my gosh,
Anything's possible.
that's where I'm going.
You know what? I believe you. I think you will.
Yeah, well, it's obviously a profession, and one of the reasons I was drawn to it, and so many people are, is that the more work you put into it, the more you get out of it.
Exactly. You control your own destiny.
Right, and your own income to a
Exactly.
great extent. Can you tell me, are there any things that actually contribute to being a successful realtor? Or let me phrase it a different way. Is there a difference between what makes a successful realtor and what doesn't?
That's a really interesting question, because I believe that there's room for success in our business for a variety of different personality types. And for me, it comes down to the person willing to do what we teach them to do.
So
And
all
I
they have
know
to do
that
is follow
sounds
instructions.
follow a model that we know works. And it sounds so simple, and I guess it is simple, but it isn't always easy.
Oh, I like that distinction.
Okay,
Yeah.
it is. It's a very simple formula. We use it regularly, and yet there are some natural pre-programmed resistances to doing what we know works.
Right. So you don't think that there's a particular personality type or a previous profession that helps become a successful realtor? I find personally that people who are more gregarious meet more people,
Right.
have more opportunities in the real estate field.
I would tend to agree with you if you have an outgoing personality, if you're comfortable meeting new people and talking about the business with them, coming from a place of contribution, because you have knowledge, you're well trained to help people. If you're painfully shy, it may be harder for you. And yet what I found is painfully shy agents attract and do well with other painfully shy people. And so there's room, if you're diligent, for everybody.
I'll just tell you a story. I met an agent down in New York where I used to practice, and this guy really did not like people very much. He didn't, but he was a systems person.
Exactly.
He could put anything into a system so it would run automatically. And he put together a thriving business just that
Exactly.
way in real estate.
So burning desire trumps all negativity, right?
Right.
A burning desire to be successful. And if you match that with a willingness to do what you've been taught to do.
Right. So I've also been pigeonholed sometimes by people who say, well, you know, I have an accent, or I think my ethnicity is going to impinge. But I say to them, I think it's a plus.
Well, look at our office.
Yeah.
I believe we represent 24 different countries and have 16 or 17 different languages spoken among our roster. And I consider that a great reflection of our communities and gives us the ability to work with people who may prefer to work in their native language.
Absolutely.
And so I see it only as a positive.
I know, there's many times I wish I was one or the other. You know?
Bilingual, trilingual, exactly.
Yep, absolutely. So a realtor, an agent, I should say, who passes the test and then is looking around for brokerages to place his license, what should he look for in the way of a brokerage?
Well, I think there are 5 key questions. Number 1 is, what will my pay structure look like?
Okay.
Number 2 is, what will I get in exchange for the money that I will be paying the brokerage for my work.
Absolutely.
What services will there be? What training is provided me? What tools and systems? What technology is there?
Right, so compensation.
Compensation.
What do you get for the compensation?
Right.
Yep.
You'll also want to look at technology. One of the reasons to join a firm is that you can take advantage of tools and systems, technological tools and systems, that an individual couldn't possibly afford on their own. Do they have a great contact management system? Are there marketing tools available for you to use? Take a look at some of the great things we have. A whole video department, for example, that lets us just do voiceover against professionally prepared video.
that's great.
Makes us look good and makes it easy, right?
Right, and video is the new way.
Is the
of
new way to
innovation.
go.
Yeah,
So
of
will the
marketing, yep.
company give me technology that I can learn to use with ease? And I do think that's important. A crazy one. What's the culture like in the office? How good is the air you breathe in any given office? In my very first office, I have to say it was cutthroat.
Yep.
I would lock my desk at night.
Yep, me too.
Okay,
Yep.
and what I learned over time is that I wasn't willing to tolerate that.
Yes.
And so what is the culture? What is the expected culture and what is the actual culture in your office is really, really important.
Yeah, I find too that we're encouraged to partner and to help each other and to be why? Because we're all sharing.
Exactly. So we have compensation, education, technology, culture, and the last piece, and it's relatively unique to us, is your company willing to share its profit with you? Are you a partner in the office?
Right.
And it's rare and it's
And Keller
amazing,
Williams has-
and we do that.
Right, we have a profit share. Maybe
Exactly.
you could just talk a minute
Well,
about
we
that.
reward people who help us grow. It's just that simple.
Right.
And the reward could be small if it's not your focus, or
Right.
frankly, it could be quite significant.
Right.
It provides our agents with a retirement plan. That's sorely missing in our industry.
And it's, you're able to pass this on, it's willable, correct?
Exactly. Bequeathable for one generation.
Yep.
That was hard for me. I have 8 grandkids. I wasn't sure who was going to get it. I actually started a trust for my grandkids for my profit share program.
Oh, you are such a great grandmother here.
I know it would be really bad if I picked just one, right?
No,
No more
absolutely.
legacy for
Yeah,
me.
Absolutely. But having those other passive income streams was one of the things that attracted me. to the
And one of the
company.
things we teach at Keller Williams is wealth building, not just having a job, but being able to put your feet up and find a beach when you're ready.
Right. And now, since Keller Williams is #1 in the country, I always think, how can I use this with my clients and let them know? But I realize that because of the size and the scalability of the company, now I have 175,000 agents that I can refer to across the country instantly.
And that goes to our technology.
And I can see
a
their
referral
production.
database that's
Yeah.
at your fingertips on your phone.
Right.
So that you could find an agent in North Carolina or in Mexico City or anywhere we do business, and frankly add to your income simply by making a phone call and referring a client elsewhere.
Several times I've come to you and asked you, who should I go to for this whole different avenue of real estate? For example, a large development.
Exactly.
And certainly there's always
We have the
people.
resources.
Yeah,
Sure, we've
absolutely.
developed a whole commercial division, for example, that's growing rapidly in our own office.
Right. So you've brought up technology, and honestly, this is the elephant in the room, because even in my short amount of time, relatively short amount of time in real estate, I have seen great changes. I mean, it used to be where you go and you look through books. That was before my time.
Not before mine.
Right. But now I find that my clients, my buyers, sellers, investors, they have almost as much information as I do.
They have it all. The difference is that you've been trained to help them interpret the data. I see the stream of data available to the average consumer as easily overwhelming, hard to understand, and difficult to navigate. And really, our functionality is to be the interpreter, the expert on the ground that takes all that data and makes sense of it. And I think that our need in the community is actually greater than ever before. as a result of that.
Interesting. That's really interesting. Well, I certainly know from a realtor's point of view that part of our job, or a good portion of our job, has to do with marketing through technology, whether it's social media or communicating with email with our
Exactly.
clients, or texting. So we are intimately involved with
We end up
technology.
making best friends, serial best friends with all of our clients for 3 or 4 months,
And
and
with
know them probably better than a lot of strangers know them.
It's true, and also with the geeks who
Yes.
run our technology.
Exactly,
Right.
and help us.
Right. So I know you just came back from Family Reunion, which is the big get-together once a year.
Our annual convention.
Yeah.
right.
How many people are?
There were 18,000 people in Anaheim this
Oh
year.
my gosh.
A sea of human beings.
Well, I'm sorry I missed that.
It
but-
was phenomenal.
Yeah, but I get it all streaming
Right.
and on video. But the big topic was data, right? Big data.
Big data.
Right. And what is Keller Williams doing, or what is the thing about big data that is so important?
Well, we all share our data every day. You fill out a form and get information. You buy something from Amazon and they are collecting data about you. And they know what your buying habits are. In fact, you'll see pop-ups. If you went looking for a widget on Amazon, you'll see that widget all over the websites you visit all afternoon. And what we're finding is that not all companies are using that data in a responsible way that protects your privacy. They're using our own data against us, if you will. Take a look, for example, at the companies Zillow and Trulia. They have no product. We've given them our inventory to put on their site.
And then they try to sell it back
And then
to
they
us.
turn around and try to sell us
As leads.
leads. And as they do that, they're collecting data on the habits of the consumer. So from our vantage point, we're making a concerted effort to build our own technology platforms, keep our own data in-house, if you will, make it available for you to use in a responsible way that doesn't pervert our industry.
Wow, that's a big one.
It's a big commitment because otherwise the value of a traditional real estate agent becomes diminished, diluted,
Right.
and it's important to protect our industry.
Absolutely. So let me just ask you,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, with all this technology, it's still important, you had mentioned,
Mm-hmm.
to use a realtor. There's so many advantages to it.
Mm-hmm.
But I want to take it from the realtor's point of view. If there's one thing that you would say holds back a realtor, or that a realtor should try to get over, what would you say it was in order to become successful?
Interesting question, because I hear it a lot. I don't want to reach out to people and ask to help them because I'm afraid I'll be bothering them. And I'd invite you to turn that mindset upside down. If you hesitate to reach out to somebody that you know and care about because you might bother them, there's a really good chance someone else will reach out to them that wouldn't take care of them the way that you would.
So it's a mindset.
It's a mindset problem. And if we always remind ourselves that we're well trained, that we're great interpreters of data, and that we know how to get our clients through the process with less stress, less time, and usually for more money, we should be able to get over that problem.
Lynn, I'm so sorry we've run
We're
out of
running
time.
out of time.
We could talk for another hour here. But maybe you can tell the people if they have any questions or they're
Sure.
considering becoming a realtor, how to get in touch with you.
Oh, just give me a ring or send me an email. I believe that my information's on the screen or will be. It's Lynn at kwchestnuthill.com.
Yep, there it
There
is.
you go.
Okay.
I'd love to hear from you. Thank you, Randy.
Thank you so
It's
much.
a pleasure.